Today we will be putting on this splash shield from Turner Motorsports, and the reason for that is this. This composite splash shield actually covers quite a bit of significant lines, and I hit a dead possum, I think, one day and tore that. So I went online. I said, well, how much is a replacement? It can't be that expensive. $300 something is what they want for that, unless you get an aftermarket plastic one. I don't want to deal with it again, and my car is slightly lowered on H&R springs, so this here is what I justified and considered a worthwhile investment to be able to protect the underside of the car. I don't feel like hitting anything and replacing way more expensive lines. So it's not a purchase out of fear, it just honestly makes sense. So I don't know anybody that's ever installed this, so let's get to it. I'm gonna first pull that one down and then figure out how this goes, because I have no idea how to install this. I'm gonna have to look at pictures on the website and kind of piece that together. This is the brackets that we get. You get one blind rivet. I don't know if that's because of a replacement. I have no idea. And then there's these two acorn nuts. And then this is the screws that they give to install. That's all you get. There are no instructions. I guess they figured, you should be able to figure it out. So here we are. Let's figure it out. So now that front shield's out, that exposes the intercooler, and let's see what happens next. Okay, so what I have figured out is that these two are going to go in the place of the stock riser, basically. Still don't know what this goes for. I don't know if this blind rivet tool is actually going to blind rivet these. These are pretty dang solid, so I don't see how that's going to work. But where these need to go is for this plate. This plate is going to be what goes on here. These holes line up. And so in order to do that, this has to come out, and then these acorns is what I'm calling them, go in here. One there, but see, it falls right out. So I'm guessing that's what the blind rivet tool is for, because otherwise it just falls right out. And there's no way, unless I slide them down in and push them down that way, but then it's gonna have this hang. So I'm gonna have to figure that one out real quick. I don't see how the blind rivet tool is going to get this, because this is a very solid piece. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. So this is how to install this. I'm going to put the rivet into the threads and just trace it up to where there's no gap in between here, just like that, and then stop right there. It's as far as you need to go. There are only two of these, because the stock one, I'm gonna end up pulling it out so that my tray is tied up against here. But in order to do this, it just goes up in here. And then from here, you use a 14 mil to hold this one, and then it's a 13 mil to draw it in. Not be using a flex head on this one, but going to go until the bottom's out. Right there. Stop. Pull this out. This is the finished product. It's in there. This one's in there. This is the stock one. Like I said, I'm gonna pop it out because otherwise the tray is not gonna sit exactly flush. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll put in the standoff bracket and then show you what that looks like. And I know that I said I was gonna take it out. I'm not, because after putting this up here, it's actually perfectly flat, just the way it is. So this is actually going to be oriented this way, and use the mounting hardware for that. So this bracket is just going to go oriented, like I said, this way, the bevel forward. It'll be these thicker Allens. 5 mil. Okay, so that's the mounting bracket. Like I said, that bevel face forward towards the front of the vehicle. And one of the things that I've noticed is that on mine, because I have this intercooler, so to fix that, I've got a rubber cap I'm going to put over. I have this rubber cap, and what I'm going to do is cut it down to the height just of that, and that way if it is hitting up against here, it's going to have something to isolate that noise, because I'm sure that's going to hit. So here it is, cut down my rubber cap, and I would just push it over it. Now, no noise. So, perfect. Okay, so from here, we're just going to install the underpin. Pretty simple, straightforward. Now that everything's there, so regroup. So run into a little bit of another issue, and that is because my intercooler hangs so low, because it's a VRSF 6.5 competition, what ends up happening is these screws that are provided are not long enough to go into this bracket. So everything else will bolt up except for these. So what I'm gonna end up having to do is have this same bolt except longer, so that way I can draw it up. So it'll be okay for now, and I'll just have to get more bolts that are just, like I said, longer. In fact, I probably have some, like this is the same pitch, same thread, same bolt. Probably use something like this. May not even have to go anywhere. Benefits of working and being in a shop. But so put it up there. For those longer bolts that I needed, I have these old ones out of an old transmission pan. They are about a 1/2 inch longer, and then if those don't work, these are out of an old intake that I saved for a while ago for stock bolts, but these are definitely long enough. But I'm gonna use these if they happen to be long enough, so we'll see. So I had to use those very long bolts to get this up. There's no way these were gonna work. They're just too short. So the length which I needed was about that long to be able to reach up there, because the intercooler is pushing all this down. The install is complete. Looks good, but I'm not so worried about the looks, to be quite honest with you. It is a nice piece, but that's how it will look when it's finalized, when it's done. The only critique I have is at least these here and here should have come with probably some kind of setup to have what I consider probably better, thicker clips. And I'm gonna end up doing that just because the main holding is done by this bracket up here. And for as thick of a plate that is, it's not super heavy, but we're relying on, 1/4 inch clips to hold that all up. And I don't really think it would be a problem, to be honest, but at the same time, I just don't know. So I'm probably going to swap out at least those 2 back ones. But there she is. Everything is now tucked up. Can go hit whatever roadkill without having to worry about damaging my car and spending more money on it than I already do. So until next time, God bless.